let's move on to the next part, of course. Last week, James Hird said some very interesting remarks in regards to umpiring last week. Certainly they were inflammatory. In fact, some thought they were defamatory, Sam. Tonight, James Hird, as part of his settlement with the AFL and the umpires, has asked to come on the show to make a statement. Of course, we would love to have James on with us. So, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the captain of the Essendon Football Club, who today asked the AFL if he could pay them $20,000 as part of the punishment for the comments that he made last week. They accepted his $20,000 and then decided not to suspend him. There was a real push that we believe, or there was a real worry that he would get rubbed out for games. In the end, James will be an ambassador for the umpires. He'll get out there and promote umpiring in the community. He's also $20,000 light for the experience. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome James Hird. James, just before we get down to the official business, $20,000. I actually heard some media reports today saying that $20,000 was a bit light. Let's not forget you've got to earn 40 to hand over 20. It's been a big week for you. I know you want to get on and just read your statement, but it has been a pretty tough week.
Yeah, look, it has been a big week, but the AFL's judgment, I think, was pretty fair and reasonable, and I'm quite happy to accept that and get on with life. Okay, you have got a statement that you've asked to read out tonight in relation to the umpire's comments on Scott McLaren last week. The forum is yours. Thank you, Ed. During last week's show, I made a number of personal remarks about senior AFL umpire Scott McLaren. I will not repeat the remarks. Scott McLaren has said that my remarks are very hurtful to him and his family, and I accept that. My remarks were not intended to upset Scott or his family, and I accept that my remarks have unjustifiably questioned Scott's integrity as an umpire. I've had the opportunity to reflect on what I said, and I wish to withdraw my remarks without any reservation. I sincerely apologise to Scott, his family, the umpiring fraternity and the football community for the damage caused. I have also written a personal letter of apology to Scott. I've taken steps to understand where Scott is coming from, and I've reviewed a video of the game with Scott. I now agree that Scott's umpiring was of a more than acceptable standard. I should say that I now appreciate the damage caused to individual people and to the game by attacks on umpiring, and particularly by attacks on individual umpires. Umpiring is challenging and is also vital to the game. I respect the role of umpires and honestly think they do a good job in performing a very difficult task. I have offered my services to assist with recruiting, retaining and developing AFL umpires in the future. It is important for the game and for good relations between umpires, supporters, clubs and players that unfortunate incidents be put to rest clearly and finally. For that reason, I will not answer any further questions about my remarks or the incident. But I can say that Scott McLaren will be umpiring the Essendon versus Carlton game tomorrow night, and I wish him well for the game, and I'm confident that he will umpire fairly and professionally as he always has. I ask all Essendon supporters to give Scott and all of the umpires a fair go and give them the respect they deserve. Okay, that's the end of James' statement. James, as you said in your statement there, you're not going to talk about what you said or why you said it or anything else like that. How hard a week has it been for you, personally? And what was your feeling after that magnificent performance you turned on last week against the West Coast Eagles, which the last quarter was as good a quarter of football that anybody could have, and in fact after would have been a pretty arduous couple of days to kick the winning goal the way you did, hug the bloke in the crowd, have 300 possessions in the last quarter, get it out of the centre, you did everything. I mean, what a difference a couple of days can make in your life. Oh yeah, look, it was great to win the game, and we needed to win the game, and being the captain of the club, I think you've got to stand up when a side has lost 2 and almost looks like losing 3, and I hope I did that in the weekend. You certainly did that. Sam? Oh, I've got a question. Sam, please don't ask me any questions. Sam, there's no questions in relation to what was said. Okay, have you got any other questions to add, or because we'll get on with the teams, boys? Have you got something? Or?
Oh, look, I think we all sat back and watched James play on Saturday night, and we're just fantastic, unbelievably impressed that you carry the pressure in that you did, and come out of it the other end. And you've learnt probably more in 7 days, Jimmy, than you ever have in your footy career. Yeah, I've learned a lot about life and a lot about people, and yeah, I can't say a lot. Yes, indeed, you can't.
What do you think about the people here, Jim? Happy with them, or some of them you're not happy with?
I think the people here are excellent, Sam.
Thank you very much.
All right. Yeah. Let's move on because it's uncomfortable enough for James there. He's been good enough to come in and face, particularly on the night before a big game at the MCG against Carlton, which is going to be a beauty. Before we get to that game, as I said, some people I heard in the media tonight. What are you doing?
Sorry,
by the way?
Ed, I meant to do this privately after but I pulled out my handkerchief and it came out, and I meant to just speak to Jim after it, but I'm sorry about that. It's embarrassing, Jim. It all just came out. Take the bloody lot, go on, take it all. Sorry. I meant to do that privately, Ed. I wasn't trying a big note, but I was. It all came out in the papers, and I was going to do it privately. So.
Can you hear that screeching of car tyres? That's Mel Brooks driving out the gate. What the hell am I going on here for? Anyway, just by the way, to put it in a little bit of perspective, as I said, some people have said $20,000. You know, it's not much. In the real world, that of the actual courts, these are the sorts of things that you get $20,000 for in courts. One who knowingly or recklessly infects another person with an infectious disease can be fined $20,000.
Give me that back.
One who fails to deduct taxation from an employee's wage.
Hello, Gary. Hello, mate. There you are. Count it, because that's real money.
One who shoots seagulls without a permit can be fined $5,000. Anyway, let's move on, fellas. Let's get on with the game. Before we... let's have a look at the teams. What do you reckon? There's going to be a big crowd watching this tomorrow night. The Blues and the Bombers at the MCG.